Hey there, quilting friends. It's Carolina Moore, your favorite sewing and quilting YouTuber, and I'm here to answer a question that I hear asked all the time, which is, oh my gosh, isn't quilting hard? Spoiler alert, friends, it's really not. So let's dig into it. So I pulled some quilts off my shelf so that I could show you some actual quilting examples, both the fronts and the backs of these quilts, so that you could see what quilts look like, how they're constructed, and understand that quilting, my friends, it's not hard. So let's start with this one that I have on the top. And for this, I want to show you that while it makes a really cool design with all these blacks and whites, it's just squares that are half black and half white, and a square that is half black and half white, and a square that's half white and half black. So every single part of this quilt is just a square that is half black and half white. And if you follow a pattern, or you can make your own pattern to take these really simple units, just two triangles put together, to make what ends up being, let me see if I can unfold this one, a really fun design for a quilt. So these are just simple squares made of two triangles that are sewn together to make an overall pattern. That's not hard, because it means that you're really doing, well, three things. First is cutting your pieces. Second is sewing straight lines to put them together. And third is pressing or ironing your seams. That's it. Those are the only skills you need to be able to make a quilt like this. Cut, sew a straight line, press. And sometimes you do those steps in varying orders. That's how easy it is to make a quilt. I want to show you the back of this quilt so you can see the seams. So this is the back of the quilt, and you can see there's seams on the diagonal and then seams all around each square. Super simple. So now let's take another simple quilt, completely different construction, and I want to break this one down for you as well. So this quilt is actually made of rectangles. So this rectangle is what we would call a block, and it actually starts as this rectangle in the middle that has triangles put on the corners, and then more rectangle pieces added around the outside, and then triangles added, and then actually another rectangle piece around that. This is what we call our sashing. And then once these all are put together, because they're all exactly the same, then we add more rectangle strips as our borders. So again, it is a pretty simple quilt that once you know how all the pieces come together, doesn't look that hard. All right, let's grab another one. I'm going to show you this one first, and we'll see if you can break down what the units or blocks or pieces of this one are. All right, did you get it? If not, scroll back, rewind, because I'm going to show you how this one comes together. All right, if this looks a lot like that very first quilt, then you're right. I mean, yes, the colors are completely different, but it's made the same way. Let's look at the back. See, it's squares that are half one color and half another. And when all those squares get lined up, they make these diagonal stripes. And so this is one square, this is one square. And these ones right here are just squares made up of four different squares. Super easy. So this whole quilt is just squares made of two different colored squares, so 4 squares total, and squares made of two different halves. You want to see it again? Now that you know how it's all put together, right? So fun. Okay, I was going to show you a couple different ones, maybe that you haven't, that might not be quite as obvious. So let's look at this one. All right, I'm going to show you this one. So the squares for this one are actually this. You can see the grid. Actually, if I flip over to the back, here you can see it really well. This grid of seams that make all these squares. And these squares are made out of two different pieces of two different colored fabrics. So they're just like that last quilt I showed you with two pieces of two different colored fabrics, which is called a 4-patch, by the way. But this one was made using a special template that allows you to get those wonky angles. So I didn't have to do any fancy math. I just followed the rules or the instructions on the template to be able to get those fun angles, but it's not any harder than that last quilt. And so it's squares made of 4 different squares that come together to make a really fun design. And from a distance, even some of these can almost look curved. This one I brought out because it's just a fun different shape, but that doesn't make it any harder. And in this case, this one is made with diamonds. And diamonds are the parallelogram. It's a square, right? We've got our square, but we've just kind of tilted a little bit. So diamonds are just leaning squares. Once you get the hang of putting together squares and triangles, you can try all different kinds of shapes like curves and diamonds. But friends, quilting is not hard. It's just like anything that you're doing for the first time. If I say, is walking hard? You'll say, no, Carolina, it's not hard at all. I walk every single day, right? But for a baby who has never walked before and is just learning how to walk, they fall on their butt a bunch. And maybe sometimes they hold onto someone's fingers as they learn to walk, right? So we can do the same thing as quilters. We can take classes, we can read books, we can watch videos like this one right here, and we can learn how to do it, to break down the steps so that it's easier when we want to do it ourselves. The other thing that can make quilting easier is having great tools. There are some really basic tools in quilting like cutting mats, rotary cutters, rulers, sewing machines, and having good quality tools is essential in being able to put quilts together. If you have a sewing machine that is unthreading itself every 30 seconds or is jamming up, or if you have a rotary blade that is dull, or you have a cutting mat that has warped in the sun, those are not great tools and you're not going to get great results. But having tools that are well maintained and functional, it's really going to go a long way to making quilting so much easier and so much more fun. Friends, if you have questions about quilting, I hope you leave those down in the comments. If you want to learn more about quilting, give me a follow. I have hundreds of quilting videos and I'm adding more all the time because I want you to learn everything there is about quilting, and I love sharing all that I know. I've been quilting for over 30 years and I love learning little tidbits and then sharing them with everybody else. So I hope you'll follow along for that ride and give this video a thumbs up if maybe you think that quilting isn't so hard either. Friends, that's all I have for you today. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you right here real soon. Bye for now.